space, then on Windows you can search for files in System32, and those suckers are just big and kind of pointless. But for the Linux nerds, you need to do an rm dash. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi.
Thank you.
Did that work? I figured we could at least segue what we were talking about, and then don't do the things I was just saying. If don't microwave your iPhone to charge the battery faster. Don't drink Tide Pods. Don't RF anything if you don't know what you're doing.
Don't do anything if you don't know what you're doing.
Pods are like the biggest issue of the day. Simple times.
Right. Yeah. So, welcome to, while we weren't recording, our obligatory Halloween episode, where we just bullshit about Halloween today because, it is.
Or if you grew up in a conservative Christian household like me, the Harvest Festival episode.
Yay!
I don't get
thank you.
You're not allowed to enjoy a dumb holiday because something to do with Christianity is
what would really set those fundies at ease would be to change up the name so they don't recognize it, like Samhain, just be like, really get some of that pagan influence in there. And be like, what are you worried about? So
also Reformation Day.
Yeah.
Reformation Day.
It's the anniversary of Martin Luther pinning his 95 Theses to the church door in Germany.
You celebrated that?
Huh?
You go.
You celebrated that as a holiday?
No, I'm just saying it's the anniversary of that, which eventually splintered, Christianity into two predominant sects, Anglican and Protestant. So.
Right. Yeah, and that's why we have so many fucking religions. So,
how's it going there in Utah?
I don't know, man. It depends on the news you get, right? So, I grew up here, right? So, nothing particularly has changed, and then you see the headlines being like, well, the church still controls Utah because Biden's got like a 4% approval rate. And I'm like, bro, let me tell you something. That's not just the church then. So, because I'm pretty sure I can list more than 4% of Utah. I know a few people, but anyway. So, yeah, we'll mix. See, we got a religion now. I just brought politics into it on our Halloween episode. So, segue. The reason why Samhain is right on my head, and please crucify me in the comments if I'm not pronouncing Gaelic, right? If I'm not pronouncing it correctly, because you don't follow the alphabet. I'm sorry. We've got rules. All right. The fact that I'm not calling it the fact that I'm not calling it Samhain is probably good enough. But in any case, so I've got a friend, we're living with friends right now, and she does homeschooling, and they did a random warm up your brain kind of trivia, and there's a phobia for Halloween, which in hindsight makes sense, but it's called Saunaphobia. And I was like, holy shit, I learned a thing this week. And I only knew that because I knew the root words, because I was like, it makes sense that you would be afraid of a holiday that's specifically designed to scare you. But it seems excessive at that point. It's I guess, I'm afraid of snakes and necromancers. What's the fear of necromancers? You should be afraid of them. Why do we have a word for that?
Right. It's very reasonable.
Words for everything.
Yeah, right. I know, fucking science. It's great, but still,
And necromancers and skeletons and vampires and monsters and those things that go bump in the night are real. It's very, very logical.
Right. I'm afraid of being eaten alive. What's the word for that?
Vorophobia. I'm just gonna guess.
Probably, yeah. Exsanguinophobia. Huh? Yeah. Check your candy for razor blades and try not to get exsanguinated, kids.
Phagophobia? Phago phobia.
Yeah, phage means eat. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Or macrophages are white blood cells because they eat the bacteria and bullshit. Yeah. Or that's why Shaq Nasty calls them little phage.
Mm-hmm. Which is a nice touch.
Apparently it goes both ways. The fear of accidentally eating human flesh or being eaten.
I do share. Okay, let's be fair. In the olden times, this was probably more of a concern. I don't often worry about going into maybe I should have on this last trip across the country. Like, oh, look, there's a diner. Why are the prices so cheap? Either they have a portal to 1963 for some reason, or maybe it's human flesh. I don't know. Let's toss
Dog.
it.
There was a Chinese place in town I used to live in, Oklahoma, that I would go to all the time, and then it got shut down for serving dog. It's like, oh god, crap! I've probably eaten dog at some point.
Oh god, that's I'm not okay with. No.
Cross the line, man. Now let's look up the phobia word for that. So, fear of accidentally having heard somebody might have accidentally eaten a dog.
Well, I have to not think about it because I know there's way too much of the planet that does eat dog.
Slightly less after the whole COVID thing, hopefully, but you know. So. They've been floating the idea of maybe the wet markets aren't a good idea anymore. So
just floating it though, not doing anything too serious.
I'm not up on their legislative process. I know that's a little bit of a joke, but in any case, I'm not up on the process, so I don't know how far along they got on it. But they were like, maybe we should look into this in the near future. So let's get ourselves off of the demonetized list somehow. Anybody got any fun plans with this whole, like, I hope you're not going out and not seeing anybody? However, of the one day a year where it's pretty much expected that you're going to be wearing a mask, just maintain 6 foot distance. So
what is bothering me lately given this year is that there's a lot of kids or like parents of kids that I know that like are irritated that Halloween's basically been canceled in either their neighborhood or their schools or whatever. It's like, you're supposed to wear a mask.
Right.
Come on.
To be fair, most of the children's masks do not prioritize stopping small particulates, but if you wore a mask under your mask, or if you went as a ninja and just cut out the middleman, come on.
A mummy.
Right. So.
A ghost. Come on, just put the tarp over it.
Right. Well, maybe not a tarp. You got to.
Right, a sheet, not a tarp.
Unless you want to be a ghost, then that might be a quick shortcut. Cheat code.
But yeah, that type of ghost is problematic at this point.
However, also does not spread COVID. Sorry, too soon. Yeah. I feel you a little bit there too. And then, I mean, I haven't seen anything. I'm sure I could look it up, but like how long it stays present on, plastic wrapping that you're going to hand out the candy and whatever. But it's like, give them, the king size bars or the small packets of whatever. And once they break it out, like some of the stuff I've seen out of factories, it's like, bro, that was put in a factory 2 weeks ago. If there was any COVID, it's done, So like once you get past the outer packaging, there's zero risk, so, but I feel you, but we've also been like abundance of caution since, like mid-February, so.
Yeah.
So for us, we've got, children in residence, so we're going to do some fun games and shit. And then there's some virtual things that some of the older kids are getting into, but, yay, the 2020, who thought it was going to be so exciting?
I was really putting a lot of hopes on this year, honestly. I wanted to go to like Oktoberfest or the Renaissance Fair for the first time in my life. And it just like, no.
Right. Yeah, you've mentioned that a couple of times, and then for me it was funny because I've got a buddy that I play Destiny with in Tennessee, and it came up that he was going to like a family thing. They're doing like a whole weekend where they're just locking each other, inside, but that's how they're doing it. But he sent me their thing from last year, and I'm like, oh, I almost always dress up, but I'm not this year because of what we just talked about, and I didn't last year because I was in Chicago. Holy crap, it's been a year since I've been in Chicago. So I was like, man, I'm a couple years behind the Halloween dress up. So,
yeah. And I don't do much for Halloween normally. I just really like everyone else being able to do it. I liked all the decorations and just the theme of not real things. I think it's like, I don't really like the Halloween stuff that focuses on like axe murderers. Like, yeah, it's kind of creepy, but whatever. I want like skeletons and necromancers and vampires and mummies.
Right.
I want the not real shit.
My favorite part of Halloween is not being eaten by demons, so that's why we've got all the decorations and shit so that they're like, oh man, I don't know, this guy looks like a badass, maybe we shouldn't mess with him. So yeah, I love that.
Very Justin themed right there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's like a big part of the origin of Halloween, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, certainly you see some of these decorations and be like, if the police get called on you, you did a good job. However, so, like, did you see the one where they were like, you know, it clearly looked like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre had come running out of the house? So,
Yeah, and like blood smeared down the walkway. Yeah, that
right.
very good production quality. I understand why the police might be a bit miffed.
Right? Like, I'm not even a demon, and I wouldn't fuck with that house. So, you know.
The Halloween decoration is interesting because, like, I remember growing up, no one decorated for Halloween or very minimal. Now it's like, you know, rivals Christmas.
Right. Oh yeah, like it's not probably a lot of work, but like right out the left window here, you know, the neighbors have some projectors and stuff, so they've got, you know, the ghosts and whatever. So if I'm ever in here at night and we just leave the windows open because we're lazy and whatever, and then it's like, oh shit, movement. Oh yeah, it's a creepy ghost, but it's like Casper cartoon ghost, you know. It's just like the movement catches me all the time and stuff. So you got fun stuff like that. Then you got the other stuff. I mean, one of my favorite years decorating was the house up the street here, 3 or 4 houses back. But I had one of those $500 come get it from the junkyard type of cars. That was like my first official car, and we were going to fix it up. We are not those people, so that did not happen. However, we did throw that bitch in neutral and shove it up against a tree and put on the emergency lights and had several family members dress up as zombies. And I had a paintball gun, and if you guys have ever played in a little bit of cold with a paintball gun, you can see CO2 come out the end of it, whether it's shooting at you or not. And so I took my CO2 canister and my paintball gun, and, you know, we basically would kick off the beginning of, I want to say Land of the Dead, because Land of the Dead, it's already in progress. So the opening credits are like, this is how the zombie apocalypse happened. And it's all this creepy imagery. So when they'd ring the doorbell, I'd kick that off. They'd get their candy, and I'd come sprinting out the back of the house, come around as the zombies enclosed on them. And I started screaming, get out of here, run, and start shooting. And when you start shooting, people run, you know, because if they weren't sure what was happening before, you know, they went then. And then, you know, I get eaten. That's one of the few times I consented. Like, I'm a survivor. I don't do this whole, like, you don't get to eat me thing. So, but yeah, that's definitely been my favorite year. Yeah. So, because like we had one of the actors in the driver's seat, like buckled in. And so like they would see somebody's in the car and they're like, something's fucking up. And then you'd see the teenagers, the girls be like, no, you go first. No, you. So, yeah. Like when the boys are like, no, you go first. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So
fun. I never have done anything in too much of a production, but I really enjoy everyone else's, I guess.
I was always jealous of the garages. You know, we didn't have a garage. So when people did their like little 20-foot maze in the garage, I was always like, oh man, that'd be so cool.
Yeah. This year, I basically have my tiny little Christmas. We don't have enough room for a full-size Christmas tree, so it's like 2 feet tall. And I pulled it out and I wrapped this. It's like a garland of skeleton lights, and I wrapped it all the way around. So now I have a skeleton tree, and it lights up with like a bunch of like purple lights, and it's gonna be flashing. And that's as festive as I can really be. Right.
If you were able to like spray paint it white and then green again, you know, then you do have a skeleton tree, and then.
I do have a tiny little pumpkin that had a weird looking stem, and all I just wanted was a pumpkin because I never got to have them as a kid, not just to have. And so there's that, and basically pumpkin pie, and that is fall.
Nice.
And tomorrow starts Christmas.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because Halloween, or not Halloween, Thanksgiving doesn't exist anymore.
Well, it sounds like that's also going to be canceled this year because you're not allowed to have that many big family gatherings. So let's just skip it.
You know, a lot of people would be like, fuck you.
I know.
The people that are upset about it are going to do it anyway, mostly as a fuck you, but yeah.
Maybe it'll make it more thankful when they're just like, yeah, we actually do care about being around each other.
No, because I'm sorry, the hard reality is if you're the people that don't give a shit, and it's been proven time and time again in the last 7 months. I mean, at least anecdotally, there's hundreds of anecdotes, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands at this point. If you don't take care of yourselves for Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, somebody's going to die, kids. That's the statistics of it, right? like grandma or grandpa or Aunt Jemima or who the hell ever else. Like, I don't know. Sorry if that offended anybody, but in any case, like, whoever the hell else, like, how many times have we been like the church choir, 6 people died? Like, really, is that what you want on your tombstone? Like, oh man, here she was going strong for 60 years. And then, she just had to go to the church choir. Like, just take care of yourselves, be smart. So.
And there's very much that. I just kind of worry on the people who have been isolated for so long, looking forward to the holidays where you're supposed to get together,
right?
And now you can't. Like that, those people are going to be in a bad place.
Yeah. Well, and the flip side is that another harsh reality is the higher suicide rate during holidays and everything. So take care of yourselves, call the numbers, hug a friend. Virtually, just connect with people, man. It's the 21st century. Like most of the guidelines, they're going to let you get together, right? Just don't have 50 people over, and don't come if you're sick. Like all the comments that I see, right? And I probably, to the right people right now, I sound like a raving lunatic, right? Because I must be so afraid of the virus. But no, like, I understand generally how germs work. And something I was telling my buddy earlier this week, like we were listening to one of NPR's segments, so they were talking about like, well, you do the masks, then you do the 6 feet, then you wash your hands, then you whatever. Like, this is security through layers. Like most professionals will recognize, like, none of these one things is a silver bullet. Like, we're not going after werewolves here, right? We're fighting a virus. So the more distance you can put between you and the enemy in this case, the safer you are. So if you can socially distant, like right here, 0% chance one of us is going to get sick from the other right now, right? Yeah. But barring that, that's where the masks and the, don't grind on your partner or whatever else, comes in. So like layers. So
onions, anyway. Ogres.
Yeah. No, that's a good twist.
Low effort.
Yeah, it was good. Did you watch any of the movies on the list? Let's get into the Halloween. You suck. I haven't watched anything either. Like, I think the wife put on Haunted Mansion for the kids because we're like, we've seen it once. Let's watch it again. No, don't watch that movie again. Probably don't watch it the first time. It's not especially great, like, even for Eddie Murphy. So
Eddie Murphy. Okay, I am not familiar.
It like. Yeah, the problem is, like, I think if I remember right, they did this one after like Pirates of the Caribbean. They're like, what if all of our movies were riots, or flip that? What if all of our riots were movies?
I do remember. Yes.
And it's like, no, that's not a premise of a movie. That's not.
Funny thing is, I was a kid when that came out, and so I actually was taken to see that in the theaters. I think my mom just wanted to like fall asleep, but
into the Haunted Mansion. It's really fucking dark.
Yeah,
like it's all about like people murdering each other. Like it's not
classic 2003. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was like
10. I was still in high school, so
that would have been the Halloween before my 10th birthday.
Nice.
So yeah, that was a perfect age range for that.
Old. Next. Yeah. So let's talk about something more recent, like Alien. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Like all of the movies on my list are probably older than that, except for The Mist, maybe. So The Mist, it came out at least in the last 2 decades, right?
New one. Oh God. Working on a new Haunted Mansion movie.
2007. So slightly less old. Jesus Christ. I mean, 2007 is what I was thinking, but when you think about it, 2004 or 2003 to 2007, not great. So. Bless you.
Recently, there's been like some of those like Netflix haunted something or other things, and I haven't watched any of them. People seem to like them. I probably will at some point. But
the one that I've been excited about, Hail Corporate Disney, was that they put all of the Treehouse of Horror movies in a playlist. Or not movies, but episodes from The Simpsons. And I always love those. And so like for 2 weeks, I've been like, guys, we got to put the kids to bed and stay up late so we can watch. Fuck, it didn't happen. This is the parents' life. So
even without parents, like I've just been trying to do more things. And so like, do I have the time to sit down and watch something, or do I want to try to do something productive? And I've been choosing productive, which has been good on one side, but I also haven't gotten to watch any of those good movies. So.
something something makes the director a doughboy. So
Sure.
Do we want to get into just how overrated Nightmare Before Christmas is before the internet just decides to kill us all?
I would like to hear both of you and why you think that movie is so overrated. So
I mean, it's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I just think it's not nearly as good as people make it out to be.
Okay,
I think it's just that the teenagers got it for a really long time, and teenagers are annoying, and you associate it with teenagers.
That might be part of it. For me, I'm gonna take you a step further. Do you know how great the Monster Mash is? Do you know why it's the greatest Halloween song of all time? Because there's nothing else. There's no other music. Like don't get me wrong, there's a few things, right? But there's a reason why this shows up in every playlist, because if you didn't, instead of having 11 songs, you'd have 10. And it's the most well-known one. It's the same reason why Mariah Carey was able to reinvent All I Want for Christmas Is You, and it's the only fucking song we listen to, because if you didn't have that, we'd have 22 Christmas songs instead of 23, okay? The Nightmare Before Christmas was made back when Halloween wasn't cool, right? Or maybe when it was starting to be cool, so like it definitely, I remember like it came out early enough that my parents, as silly as it is in hindsight, like my parents definitely went through a phase that you could say is relatively fundy, where they were like, wait, you're going to play, my brain just shit the bed again. Diablo. When I bought Diablo, my mom was like, oh my God, the devil. And I'm like, yes, except that I'm killing the devil, not worshiping the devil. So that's cool, right? Like if I'm a paladin, that's okay, which I wasn't, but
she didn't.
But like, that's the Nightmare Before Christmas is like, all the pearl clutchers are like, oh no, it's got Halloween devilish imagery. And it's like, now we've got like Hocus Pocus, and we've got, the Haunted Mansion, I guess. But, like, there's just wasn't anything else, and it's got great production values, and it's got great music. Now, if you're not into musicals, I completely understand, because I also didn't particularly always enjoy musicals. But the music, like almost all of the music out of Nightmare Before Christmas, slaps in the moment. Like,
right,
taken by itself, even, it's usually great, and you can play it back. Like I can't think of another musical where I'm just like, oh yeah, let's go listen to that soundtrack. Like.
You mean you don't throw on Hamilton every day?
Now the wife does, and I'm okay with it in the background. But no, like, yeah, I enjoyed Hamilton, to be clear. I thought it was great. I tried to forgive it some of the things that they did, some because they had to, and some because they were making it approachable and things like that. Overall, I loved it. But yeah, like I'm typically against musicals, and like as a child, like if a musical came on and be like, nope, I just like turn it off and leave, but these days, like I try and give it its fair shake and everything like that. But yeah, I think a big part of the reason why the Nightmare Before Christmas has got the traction it does is because what the hell else is there? And like people just kind of latched onto it. Like it was well done enough. But I think a lot of the detractors, in my opinion, like correct me if I'm wrong, like if you hated it from the start, then I'd like to hear more why. But like otherwise, I think it's just because, oh my God, we've seen it every fucking year, because that's all there is. So
I probably
nothing similar.
I came to it definitely late. I think I saw it for the first time in college, and I enjoyed the movie, but I'm like, that's it. Really? This is what I've been hearing about for so many years.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of it. Like there's nothing else that's similar to it. Of what else has that same kind of aesthetic with all the same themes?
Right.
It's like, so when you want something like that, it's like the only option. And that just really seemed to click with a lot of the emo teenagers.
With somewhat similar, it's not similar things, but I would definitely choose Corpse Bride over Night Before Christmas if I'm watching.
That's like at least a decade after.
Right.
So
well, and I mean it's probably like, if we really wanted to get into the analysis of it, it's probably the inversion of the same reasons why, right? Like Corpse Bride was also Tim Burton, right? And it's got the same kind of style, and I think he was trying to recapture some of that aesthetic. But in my opinion, like the Corpse Bride story was like I've only seen it once and a long time ago, but it just wasn't very engaging, whereas like to me a lot of the ideas, even a lot of the subtle stuff in like Nightmare Before Christmas was more interesting, like just the idea that you've got all these different towns, like all the holidays are just hiding out and then you can cross over and stuff like that. Like, obviously it's a major plot point, but they don't really focus on it beyond he can cross over, but just kind of the idea, like the magic of that world. And, also seeing the military response to an undead Santa Claus. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah.
But
See, like for me, actually, thinking back on it, I saw both those movies for the first time in the same week.
Gotcha.
They're like this, and then and the first time I watched Corpse Bride, I was like, "This is okay," but like on more viewings, I've really come to really enjoy that movie.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to watch it again. So
I have
we
never
might be able
seen
to
it.
sneak that one past the child censors. So
The child censors that are you.
yeah, our standards are very funny. Like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was quasi acceptable in the time because they were shooting each other. But when I convinced her that it was, not actually bullets, that took some of the edge off. Some other things, like a lot of violence we try to, get away from anyway. Like we try to avoid the glorification of violence and things like that. But it's just so a part of childhood, like swords, guns, every single, like find me a cartoon that somebody doesn't hit somebody with some weapon at some point,
or should have had their brains splattered across, like
right.
Go back to Looney Tunes. Wile E. Coyote, like he should be dead 3 times per episode.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, then you get the Looney Tunes stuff, but I'm just talking even like the modern stuff, right? And then like I'll let him watch me play Destiny because I'm shooting robots and aliens. It's fine. So especially shooting robots, like who cares that his limbs came off? Like that's just cool. That's not trauma. So, that's recorded forever now. You're welcome.
I was sat in front of Terminator, Aliens.
That's why everybody's like, this shit fucks people up. Like, no, man. Like,
no.
How many times on this podcast alone, let alone Dresden, have you heard me say that I'm against violence against women and children? Like, it just skeeves me out isn't even a strong enough word. Like, my spine tingles, right? Like, just with the negative information. And yeah, dude, I fucking grew up on all of these rated R movies. Like, come on, as a child, if you had asked me, my favorite movie would have been Nightmare on Elm Street. How fucked up is that? Like, so.
And maybe that influenced me because I've always seemed to like the more macabre things more than I should have. Maybe I just didn't know anyone else that had a similar thing. But
or maybe it's that secret part of humanity that the fundies are afraid of you unlocking, like your bisexual curiosity. And...
Aliens was great, and my mom encouraged me watching that all the time because Ripley was a good role model.
Absolutely. Well, not to mention Newt. I mean, come on, as a child, Newt is the strongest female lead.
She managed to survive. So, yeah, totally.
They mostly come out at night. Mostly.
Yeah. But and then I just notice if I think back, I attached to the creepy things, not the scary things, because I didn't like being scared, but creepy. Like, did you remember the movie called The Cell with Jennifer Lopez and Vince Vaughn and D'Onofrio?
I thought about that movie in so long.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have. This is the one? It's all virtual and shit, right?
Sort of. Yeah, they go into the dreams to try to communicate because he's messed up, and they needed
a couple of years ago too.
Yeah, we rented that from Blockbuster when I was like 7, and I watched it on repeat for a whole week.
Oh wow!
That was just something about it. Even it was creepy and it was weird and it's a little disturbing, but I loved it.
Now we know why the director is so fucked up.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and that's all there, but it's funny too because like in hindsight, it's like a couple. a couple years ago, this is a completely random digression, so it's probably only loosely on topic, but like playing Fallout 4, right? The Brotherhood of Steel, and everyone's like, oh my God, they're so xenophobic and shit like that. But it was like, I didn't get that when I played it, which probably, you can see all the red flags there if you want, right? However, what it came down to for me, it was like mostly they hunt down the things that eat people. And that's when, when I really kind of codified that it was like, I'm mostly against being eaten and having things eat people. So whether it's killer robots or aliens or mutants or zombies or ghouls or whatever the case may be, like that's my hard line. So I guess if that makes me xenophobic, then bummer. But I mostly don't want to be eaten, so I will do what it takes to not be eaten. So, and it's not even particularly like I don't wake up at night with like some kind of visceral like oh my God, they're going to chew me and I'm going to scream the entire time, which is horrifying. Don't get me wrong.
Have you seen Attack on Titan?
No.
You should watch Attack on Titan.
Because they eat people? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Because, anime, and so it does a lot of weird anime things.
I think that was the first red flag, was like, I don't really do anime, but
it's pretty good in terms of a lot of what it can do. There's some things about it that are super annoying, but I can look past it because the uncanny valley disturbing feeling is so strong.
Mm-hmm. Because and giant muscle masses that eat people is...
Yeah, and the despair and the damage, like he does focus on it a lot. Mm-hmm. And as the time progresses, the characters become more and more damaged. And it's good. I think
I can see it's definitely you. Those are some of your favorite things. If you watch the last few episodes, you might see where the director's coming from. So.
Yeah, they're I think the main character is super annoying for the majority of it, and so there's a chunk of it when he's not there, and it's great because all of the other clever characters get to be clever.
If you're in anime, you're not.
Well, he whines so much, and then he gets more damaged, and he stops whining, and it's great.
Nice. Yeah, there are a few that I've been somewhat interested in, but even still, with like the little bit of interest, it'd be like you would have to come over and be like, sit down, we're gonna watch this now, and then it'd be like, fine. Like that's me in anime. Like, I don't think I've ever sought out an anime. I'm trying to think what the last one was that I watched before
anime I've sort of sought out was Death Note, which is really good.
Yeah.
Don't watch the Netflix version because it's awful.
Well, I haven't seen it, but the casting choice for Willem Dafoe as the Shinigami, perfect. No one can be better for that. Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's like the only good decision they probably made.
Right.
But they fundamentally changed the light or whatever the main light, right?
Light.
The main character. They fundamentally change his motivations, and it just breaks the movie.
Oh, right.
Breaks the story.
His motivations they become very philosophical, like on the abstract of why are you doing it, but he's like doing it to bad guys and shit like that.
They change fundamentally who he is as a person. And so, like, in the anime, like, who he is as a person, you can understand why it drives him to do what he does. But in the Netflix version, I'm trying to be vague because I don't want to spoil what things that have been out forever. But, it changes. He's not the same kind of person, so you're like, oh, he's just being an asshole now. That's the difference.
Right.
Because in the anime, you can be like, oh, I can get why someone who is this good can be so evil. Where in Netflix version, he's just a dick.
The Death Note's a fun thing because he is an anti-hero, and like you go through it, like, do you want him to succeed or not?
Right.
But do you want him to succeed? So this is the part of the premise that I've never gotten past, right? Is because all he does is write your name in the book, right? So, sort of the drama. Does he succeed in writing your name in the book?
The magic system is that simple, but the plot is not. Mm-hmm. So because when they're figuring out like who can have this information in terms of who has been killed or whatnot, and then
so he's got to go through all the detective shtick first.
Yes.
Okay. Right. None of that was ever presented to me until like now. I think actually it was always like, if I write your name in the notebook, you die, and then roll credits, and like.
Well, cool. There's the notebook, And there's like, how can he get the information that he wants, and how can he do it in a way that he remains undetected? And then there's the Sherlock Holmes character that all of the emo teenage girls latched on way too much. That does these Sherlock Holmes magnificent things of getting too close to it, and just like the cat and mouse is also really good.
Nice.
Well, in the main shtick is like, he is, killing bad people, right? Like criminals and that kind of stuff. And so it's this sort of, his motivation is trying to make the world a better place. But, and so it's that juxtaposition of, can you be judge, jury, and executioner and still be a good person?
Right.
So it's an interesting anime. It's worth watching. But I mean, and I think it's on Netflix, or at least it was.
You can find anime anywhere on the internet.
Yeah.
Finding is not hard. Finding the names of what to watch is the hard part.
Yeah, like even with my ignorance, I know where to find anime. I don't go seek out the Like one of the few that I sort of came across myself was Vampire Hunter D, and it was more like I was in a convention, like, and they had it on during their anime room, right? Because it's just 24 hours anime, 24 hours movies, 24 hours B or C or D horror movies, and so I was like, I just happened to be in there when it was on and sat down and like watched an episode. I'm like, yeah, this seems all right. And so like that's one of the few where I'm just like, I'll add that to the list. Other than that, it's almost always been the person I'm dating or married to or whoever being like, hey, we should watch this thing,
So I should talk to Amber to get you to watch things.
Probably. Like, if she'd be into it, if we could get past the time and the childhood barriers and stuff, then yes.
Who do we talk to get you to watch things?
At this point, I think I just need to win the lottery so I don't have to work, and then I'd have the time to do all the shit I want to.
Right.
So give me a winning lottery ticket, and I'll watch anything.
Screw that. I'll keep that for myself.
I think Plan A is working. I think 6 years of badgering her every week has definitely been paying off because she's read or watched a single thing that we've ever suggested. So, yeah. But she's going to give up any day now. Like, I thought for sure that Halloween was the way, but I can't think of anything. So you tell me. You can't think of anything either. So
I guess I can remember going to see The Force Awakens and then coming back. So yeah, Justin was right.
Yeah, great. Of all the things.
Yeah. Like, because if you've got eyes, sorry for all you fans out there, but come on.
Hey,
all you new fans.
Event Horizon was a creepy movie. Go watch that.
Which one?
Event Horizon.
Oh yeah.
Where we're going doesn't need eyes. Yeah.
Well,
eyeballs.
Look, if you want some quasi 40K lore in a movie, go watch Event Horizon. So This is what happens when you go through the warp without a Geller field, and you would totally know that if we'd been recording the 30 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah.
So,
but that one was really good in terms of the creepy suspense of like that's really going to happen, and you're going to sit through and watch it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean the lead actor, like, come on. So
actors, they had good actors for that.
I don't remember anybody else. I can't even remember his name right now because
Sam Neill is who you're thinking of. But they had
I was
other
going to call
ones
him Merlin, and I'm like, that's not even where everyone's going to know him. So
some people know him from that.
Well, I mean, yes, but like at least say like Jurassic Park or something that like hit mainstream. So 1997. Ooh, how old were you then? Jeez.
I would have been 4, but I watched it as an adult in college. So.
Can you really claim to be an adult in college?
Holy crap. I forgot Jason Isaacs was in this.
Which one was he?
And Lawrence Fishburne. He was
I forgot
DJ,
he was in that, yeah.
And Lawrence Fishburne was the captain. And Sam Neill was the guy who fucked up everything. And he was the scientist turned cultist, right? Which is, a great trope anyway. Like, so, because he starts like pushing it, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I mean, they only go there.
Give yourselves over to the forces of hell. It's great. They've taken my eyes. This is the coolest thing ever. No. Hard pass.
Could have been.
Yeah. It'd be better if you did. Anyway. So more
EG,
great movies.
How are you?
You know.
Are you in the Halloween spirit?
Insofar as there's technically candy in front of my house, and I'll be eating it later. Yeah,
You're wearing a black T-shirt, right?
it's navy blue, but yeah, for all intents and purposes.
Sure, it's dark. That's all that
Right.
matters.
Is that why you still haven't put the power on in your house? Getting the Halloween spirit?
Yes, we actually stopped doing general maintenance about a year ago to get that dilapidated look. So
Ooh.
we really took
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That would have been better if you'd actually been there for more than like a week.
Shh. What I say doesn't have to make sense. Come on. Like,
It's true. I was kind of hoping for some more Norwegian horror, but Andreas bugged out.
yeah, again. Anyway, did you see anything good recently? Have you done anything Halloweeny?
No, I haven't
Do you
even
wanna-
really watched anything horror related
You want
recently.
to give your opinions on The Nightmare Before Christmas? Because we did have some time shitting on that and defending it for some of us.
I used to hate it, but that was mostly because my sister loved it and wanted to watch it on like a loop.
See? Teenagers.
And no, she does it now. And
Some people just never grow up.
yeah, I mean, it's
Actual
fine. I don't hate the movie anymore, but I don't care. It's if it's on, it's on. If it's not, so much the better.
Right.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't usually seek out horror movies. Like, I'll go because the only one who really wants to watch horror movies is my brother, and he's now down where you used to be. So,
Hell.
oh, Florida counts as hell. And obviously there's been nothing out. Whatever. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last horror movie I even saw in theaters. It would have been something last year, and I, for the life of me, can't remember.
For me, I think it was A Quiet Place. So, still haven't gotten the wife to watch that, but mostly because it involves kids. So,
Oh, then don't let her watch Hereditary either.
okay. I mean, that
I heard
was
of that
just
one.
in the name, isn't it? So, like,
Yeah, but like there's things like creep. Like you could watch Bly Manor because it has kids in it, but it doesn't matter. I actually happen to like Bly Manor.
Mm.
But that was probably the most recent quote unquote scary thing I've watched because that was a couple of days ago. But yeah, Hereditary is not one to watch if you have kids and like kids and are fond of their well-being.
noted. I'll put that one right back in the circular file then.
I personally don't care, and I was still like, oh, that's a lot. That's intense.
Right.
Brightburn is kind of a horror movie. That might have been the last horror movie I saw in theaters because I think that was last year. That was the evil Superman kid.
I remember
It
hearing about
sounds
it. I don't remember
familiar,
coming
yeah.
out.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, it's a good concept, but they just dive too far into the like shock value gore as opposed to the actual general concept.
Right.
So it was kind of
I just don't understand how they don't get the concept lately. Like, I don't know. I mean, there is an entire genre that it's like, that's cool and okay, right? But like, otherwise, those kinds of special effects should like be important to the story, meaning story was the important word in that sentence, like if you're going to dive into a concept like, what if we did a dark Superman or whatever, then maybe focus on that and not on how he can turn people inside out, because we already know that.
You would think, but
yeah, I mean, that was anyway. My brain will connect dots. I almost had to bring up the latest freaking Fantastic Four again, and how terrible is that going to be? But no, I was gonna say, like, one of the
that counts as
better,
horror, right?
yeah, well, one of the better done scenes and one of the more compelling things that they showed was their transformation, and how absolutely fucking horrific that would be in real life, and yet had no purpose in that story, in origin stories in general. But like when Mr. Fantastic is like crawling towards Ben, and like his legs aren't coming with him because they're stretching out behind him. But if it had been anybody else, like the body horror that was involved in that scene, and watching people get crushed by rocks or burned alive as they turn into the Human Torch and the Thing, I was like, those are fantastic scenes, and they'd be great in a horror movie, but this is not a horror movie. This is the wrong genre for that sort of thing. So, and it was some of the better production values they had in that whole stupid thing. But
yeah, I'm not super fond of body horror.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but again, it's part of the genre. Don't watch The Thing. Like, if you
Well,
haven't.
The Thing, The Fly. I mean, these are things I've all seen, and that was always like, yeah, no.
Oh, dude, and I don't know that I'd say that I'm into body horror, but The Thing is like it's a masterpiece. Like,
Well, yeah, The Thing is
it's
good,
just-
but
yeah.
The Thing is not. I don't think The Thing is as bad as The Fly, quite honestly.
I haven't seen The Fly
For
in
for
long
body
enough,
horror,
so.
like it's got it,
Mhm.
but it's not, or at least I don't remember it being The Fly, because The Fly is, he's fucking disintegrating and turning into a monster before, slowly but surely. So you get more of it. It's more visceral, parts of falling off, and this, that, and the other thing.
Right. And as creepy as the stuff, like creepy, it doesn't even cover it, but as creepy as the stuff that happens in The Thing, I think the biggest piece that grabbed me was the fear of the hidden, just being like, who is it? And they don't even seem to know, or at least are pretending that they don't know, and just like all of those pieces, kind of tied together. And then that just feeds into so many other great horror monsters or ideas that are adjacent, right? Like then you get, come on, like in the mundane, you could do like your sleeper double agent, or you've got DS9 with the changelings, or you've got the skinwalker, or just on and on and on. It's one of my favorite horror tropes, and like I started doing it when we go to haunted houses. Like whenever you're going to a haunted house, it's a smart thing to keep a head count. And it's a cool thing to misrepresent the head count to your friends so they freak out. So you'll be like, wait, weren't there 6 of us when there was only ever been 5? Be like, hey, where's so-and-so? Like, they didn't come, did they? Bro. Like, yeah. So anyway.
That's good.
I love Halloween, but the more I think about it, I'm like, oh man, it's a shame I grew up and got stupid, because now like I used to do fun things.
They all did at one point or another, allegedly.
Right. The director's like, shut up, I'm still cool. I got 10 years on you fools. I watched that when I was in elementary school. God.
Which was like a year ago.
Yeah.
So I should dress up as an adult for Halloween.
Her mom no longer has to sign the release so she can be on this show with us. With
You
all
can,
the
yeah,
adult
you can
language
dress
and
up as the
content.
director and actually steer the show.
Oof.
Hit the buttons.
There you go. If we ever do a corporate Halloween party, you're just going to show up with a clipboard with a script.
Okay. Like
So-
business. Yeah, okay.
That'll-
That'd be kind of funny.
That'll be the scariest episode of all, is when she actually puts the hat on, does it?
Well, I tried last week. See, look what happened.
Right. Look what happens. Yeah, it has been a while. Like you were doing some of that in like year 1 or 2 at Dresden, but that didn't take. So
Well, it did, and then doing the podcasts made me realize like I could do this as a job, sort of like organizing things and people and time.
right.
And then I did,
Job is
and
a
like
waste of
I don't want to put that much effort into my off time, so I
Right.
just said, fuck it.
That's why they tell you don't make your hobby a job, because then you'll hate both. And it doesn't really stick for nerds, or maybe that's just why we hate everything. Like if you're a computer nerd, and then it's like, then I go home and play on my server. So
Yeah. So it's
Then
like,
you
yes, I
start
sit in
seeing
front
the
of a
errors
computer
and
all
everything.
day. I go home and I sit in front of a computer all day. Those don't feel the same to me. But it's
Mhm.
like putting like effort and planning and organization, and then it's like, let's just wing it. We're good enough. Go.
this is a genre we need more of: office horror. No, the TPS reports.
I'm sure it exists in a Japanese movie somewhere.
Yeah, but those all wind up with like somebody's face being pulled off or a heart attack or something. Like I've
A
seen
lot of the
these
times,
Japanese
yes, they're
horror.
very big on the body horror too.
Right.
Have you
always,
seen Attack
but-
on Titan?
I saw the first season, I think, but
Yeah.
I was not a fan.
I think it,
Once everyone started becoming a Titan, I was like, God damn it, this is just this.
No,
Like you had to make it full
gets
anime,
better.
didn't you?
I swear it gets better.
No,
because-
I don't care.
No, it shifts the genre, and it goes really, really
Yeah,
good.
it shifts. Yeah. So does what's that other show I'm not gonna watch?
But
Dark.
no,
Dark. Yeah.
no,
Either
no.
of these
Dark
things.
doesn't shift genres. Dark is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of does. Like
No.
the argument could be made.
You
It's a contiguous story, yes.
see different
but,
layers, but
that I mean, I guess it's like saying high fantasy shifts its genre when they leave the farm, right? But like because you got to start out with the baseline, like you said, to use your words. But Yeah, so it's all the same genre, but it definitely feels like it goes from like a drama and a procedural to what it turns into. So
Because you can't say more than that.
right, because saying more than that gives you a hint and gives you a leg up on what's going to happen.
And you don't deserve that. You need to go through it blind and suffer.
Yeah, I don't know. In hindsight, maybe I've sequestered the negative, but like I don't. There were only a few episodes that I felt like suffering, but I think it's because I suppressed them. Because now that I'm digging into that box, I'm like, no, get out of here. What's wrong with you? That's not how we're feeling today. I'll save those for later. So. Dark, not a Halloween theme, but you can be forgiven for thinking so.
Yes, but still good if you want to feel haunted.
Yep. I don't know. Is there anything even coming out? Like, I'm trying to. I mean, because I know Hollywood's basically dead, right? Yeah,
nothing's coming out.
But yeah, I've just been trying to think because, like I said, the last one I can think of seeing / even being particularly excited about was Quiet Place, which is why I went. Like, I went to go see that by myself, and then, I mean, because that was 3 years ago. Because I went and saw it before the wife and kid even made it out to Florida. Like, that was one of my things I did while I was out there by myself for 2 weeks, and then it was like, how was the movie? Let's talk about anything else, because this is like we had like Gannon was 2 or 3 at the time, so it was like, let's not talk about this. So. The classics are still classic, though. So go watch yourself some Alien or Aliens, or stay away from Cowboys versus Aliens or A Haunted Mansion, or go watch Hocus Pocus, because, again, what the hell else is there? So.
Oh, I'm sure you guys know this by now, but Sean Connery died today.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Did they report if his head was attached to his body? I'm just asking for a friend. So.
Which friend?
Me, probably.
Does League of Extraordinary Gentlemen count as a Halloween-esque movie?
Counts as a bad movie.
It's not fun. Great.
No. It's bad. You know how like Van Helsing's endearing but also bad?
Oh, I love that movie.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is just bad.
No, I got that flipped for you, I think. So now there are pretty terrible things in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Don't get me wrong. Like casting what's her face as a vampire on the heels of Underworld was like, what were you thinking? Like, but okay. But that was like when the vampire movies were starting to become cool again. So
Underworld was fun, like the original 1 or 2. Like then they got weird.
Just one. The first one was okay.
Yeah,
I thought the second one was okay, and then they did that prequel thing, and that was okay. But like then they tried to do something fucking bizarre.
Well, they're on like the 6th one now, I think.
If you want some like bizarre / campy horror-esque, go watch some Resident Evil movies.
Those are
those for a long time I couldn't not watch them, but that didn't at all make them good. Like maybe you could say up through 2.
Good. I just said they were what they were.
Yeah, maybe you could get me through 2 without riffing on it too much. But like 1 was actually pretty good again compared to like other actually good. Oh no, God! There's like 8 or 9.
There's a lot.
There are so many, and
they're
then
like Fast and Furious movies. They just kept making them.
Yeah, right. And it was just like, you guys are making like $100,000 a movie right now. Like, how are you keep doing this? Like, this would be one you would be forgiven if you were like, this is a money laundering scheme, not actually a business. But because like there's no way
like Transformers or Fast and Furious, which actually make money.
Right. Like inexplicably, but yeah, like.
Well, no, I understand why. I don't understand why Transformers does. I understand why Fast and Furious does.
Because you're a fan? Would you like to enlighten us? Or?
I wouldn't say I'm a fan. I certainly don't hate them. I enjoy them for the crap that they are. But they're a different kind of crap. Like Transformers is just all explosions, no whatever. And Fast and Furious is all explosions with a thin veneer of a plot.
I see.
Yeah,
people gravitate towards it a little more.
Yes, but the first Transformers movie I thought was good.
The first Fast and the Furious movie was fine for what it was.
Right.
But it's the thing with the Fast and Furious movies is what they've become. Like,
right, same thing.
Never, like Like they've become this like weird heist type movies from like that terror. Like, don't get me wrong, I fucking love the first Fast and the Furious movie. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, but it's fucking terrible. But like you go from that to what it is now, like 20 plus years later, you're like, what the fuck happened?
Well, I mean, they also turned them into like mini Captain America superheroes. I mean, they all can like punch through walls and take rubber bullets like they're nothing. So, you know, it's, again, amusing. I enjoy it, but I'm not going to go out and say it's good.
Yeah. So far, all of these, like, series, whatever you want to call them, it's just like, no, the first one was the best. And then past that, I don't make as many excuses. So I think, because I think maybe I saw the first and second Fast and the Furious, or maybe it was just the first, because shortly thereafter it was Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. And I'm like, nah, that was my cutoff. And then
objectively, that's probably the worst one, but it is my favorite of the entire franchise.
And then, yeah, like Transformers was one of those, kind of like Star Wars, where I was like, I went into it excited, and then the whole time I'm just like, this is not fun or cool. Like, they do neat things with it, but I didn't like even the first one. And then it just got even more ridiculous. And then like Megan Fox was like, I make too much money, so just fire me because I'm stupid. And she got Halle Berry.
Was, quote unquote, difficult to work with, so she got cast.
AKA she makes too much money. Like, you can always tell the ones that get important, right? Because they go down the same path, right? So, but what was the other one we were talking about? But yeah, they're just bad. So, oh yeah, Resident Evil. Yeah, again, like I love me some zombie movies, and at least half of those came out before zombie fatigue was supposed to set in. But no, they just were kind of over the top. So not the right kind of.
The first one was good because it was self-contained to a certain extent, and then they had to keep going.
Well, they definitely left it open for the sequel, like wide open, but
yes, but when
also like the mystery of it, right? With her, she lost her memories, and you know, come on, the Red Queen is great. You're all going to die down here, you know. Just like, well, that's pretty final, but so.
But I remember thinking, it's like, as they tried to pull more in what probably came from video games that I was not aware of, it's like that this just doesn't translate very well. Like, don't put her in that outfit because it really doesn't work in real life.
Right. See, and I mean, you're predisposed to be concerned about that more.
The director going, look how hot my wife is.
What'd you say? I didn't quite catch all that.
So, like, the director of the Resident Evil franchise is the husband of the main character.
Right.
It's like it's him just going, "Look how hot my wife is," haunting it.
Yeah, it wasn't just her though. It was, I can't remember it's someone from the video game. So like the blue tube top and a mini skirt or something. It's just like, I get why in video games.
Lara Croft.
No, Resident Evil still. But it's just like
the chick from Star or whatever. So
yeah.
You're just not even trying anymore, are you?
I never was.
You know, because I made you try, and then that was last week.
We don't talk about last week.
I've talked about it 3 times so far.
It's part of the reason I was late.
Tried to miss all that.
Someone's at the door.
Yeah, right.
Any other Halloween thoughts? A tangent or two, maybe.
It's a good day for college football. If you're a college football fan.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, we're nerds. We still disdain of the sports.
No, I like sports. I just don't give a shit about college sports.
Oh.
That's fair. I don't know. So we bullshitted a whole hour.
Yeah.
Should we wrap it up?
I guess. It was vaguely Halloween. It was vaguely not.
We talked about horror and costumes and, you know, shitty pronunciation of Gaelic. And I'm still not even sure it is Gaelic, but just, right? What Callahan's law, right? I shouldn't say it. So Murphy's law is that if you say the wrong thing on the internet, somebody will be there to correct you. So
that was Poe's law.
See,
I could be wrong too. Whatever. I guess plug whatever else we have.
This has been us bullshitting it for an hour. I mean, while we weren't recording, and we're part of the Broken Jars Network, and we've got
recording the first episode of our new Cobra Kai podcast. So if you're a fan of the show, tune in.
I've only seen like half the episodes because I like watch it when my buddy's watching it. It's pretty good. Like the like Easter eggs and the callbacks and the fact that they got like the entire first cast who's still alive, is
Right.
pretty amazing. So
Yeah, and they're all like producers and like that kind of stuff too. So it's also like I really like how they sort of make the antagonist the main focus of the show.
right.
So it's an interesting twist.
Yeah. Well, that and it's also one of those where that's like they're all kind of D-bags in a way.
Yeah.
Like even, your heroes don't grow up to be heroes type of thing. So it is, there are definitely some parts that are cringy to watch for that sort of thing. But yeah, no, it's good. And then next week we got Dresden. We're doing part 2 of 87 of Battlegrounds because we got to stall
right.
for a few more years. So
All right. Do you have a name for the Cobra Kai podcast?
Not yet.
Okay, unnamed podcast to still please check out.
okay, Borat, thanks for that.